Hello and welcome to You Are Human, a show attempting to decode human potential and possibilities by bringing you real stories, real heroes. My today's guest, she is an engineer by profession and an adventurer by heart. I believe she feels it's a responsibility to bring out the stories of other athletes and other sports personalities. That's why she has co founded a platform called Hunna, and she's also doing so much in Dhofar. She has started her own community tourism project in Dhofar, which is called Ghudu. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. We will know the pronunciation from her because it's a bit difficult. Now that she's already, given her inputs, please let's welcome Noor Al Mandhari.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So again, how do you pronounce Ghudu?
See, I'm not even perfect in pronouncing it because I'm not a local, but every person says it. The locals say it in a very good way. So I would say Ghudu.
Ghudu.
Yes, Ghudu.
Ghudu. So is it from the epiglottis?
Yeah,
Ghudu.
but if I pronounce it, they would say it's wrong. The locals would say it's still wrong. They have their own way of pronouncing it.
So my Ghudu is also okay.
Pass.
So for everybody, even in her introduction, I forgot to mention this one thing because I was so excited to learn the pronunciation. My bad. But Noor is one of Oman's female climbers. So yay to females who climb. I mean, I want to do that. It's been on my list to do the Everest Base Camp.
That's
but
amazing.
I don't know how, when. So yeah.
I mean, you have next year, next March.
Have you ever done the Everest Base Camp?
Yes,
have you?
I've done it twice.
Twice?
Yes, because the first time I went was... So the beauty about Everest Base Camp is that you can also go to other mountains within the same time.
Right.
There are different peaks that you can climb in Nepal after arriving to Everest Base Camp.
Right.
So I combined that with different peaks. So I've been to two peaks along with it. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's very doable. You will feel the altitude. You'll feel sick at some point.
Right.
But it's much really worth it.
It's totally worth it.
Yeah.
This year I went to Nepal in May, and people were doing the Annapurna hike, and I was like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And I told my friends that if not Annapurna, I think we should aim at Everest Base Camp. But our training, we've not started anything. So since May we decided it, but I don't know when it's going to happen.
So we sit in September.
Yeah.
If you start now, you'll be able to go in March. That's for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Totally.
Yeah, but you have to stay committed to that, right?
Yeah, you have to be consistent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, the reason why I could even think of doing it, like before this, I was like, I do not know. If you want to climb, you have to be a pro athlete, etc. And then when I was reading about you, in 2018, you decided to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
Correct.
And you have confessed this, and you've mentioned it on several occasions that it was then when you became athletic.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So that actually gave me motivation. Like, oh, okay. So if somebody could do it, and now you are such a well-known climber in Oman, mashallah, and you're inspiring so many different people. I am one of them, all right? So you're doing that. So that's great. And I would like to know what happened in 2018 that you decided this. Did you also get inspired by someone like what happened to me? Looking at you, I'm like, I want to do this. So what happened to you?
Definitely. I mean, social media came into the picture, and I was following this traveling account, and they used to post this traveling trips and different mountains at the same time. And during that stage of my life, I was in a stage where I was looking for something. I don't know what it was, but I was just looking for something. And that was me already having a full-time job and doing my thing at work. So Kilimanjaro kept on popping up into my profile every time I open Instagram. It keeps on popping up. And I'm like, okay, I need this. I need to go. This looks amazing. This looks like a life-changing experience. And this looks like it's going to help me within what I'm looking for, which is what I didn't know what I was looking for. I was just looking for something to do. And it came up and I signed up. And then, a few months after signing up, I immediately started training. So I started my training, and I would say, I went in June, and I started training, I would say, in March.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I used to go to the gym occasionally before,
Hmm.
but I wasn't doing a lot of endurance training. It was mainly strength
Right.
and just, getting to move.
Mm.
But after signing up for the mountain, no, I was committed into just training for it. And it was a continuous training, and I never missed a day. And I remember that I haven't seen my family as much during those months and my friends.
Right.
So, and they were a bit like, what's going on? Why is she always away? Well, I'm training. Okay, aren't you done with training? I was like, no, this is my first mountain and I just need to work towards it. And thank God I trained hard for it, because it really paid off on the mountain. When you feel great on the mountain, it's just amazing.
Right.
Yeah. If you don't get any of the altitude sickness, which
Right.
sucks. And luckily with Kilimanjaro, I think I felt really, really good within the climb.
That's amazing.
And I was, with a very good company, with a good group of people from
Right.
different countries. So it was nice to meet new people on the mountain, have a different experience. The mountain itself is very, very, very special compared to the other mountains, because you literally like climb and go through different seasons at the same time. So you would start in a forest and then go through like open space and waterfalls and a little bit of rivers here and there, and then you would go into the glaciers. So you
Wow.
would come across all these different
different terrains, and different landscapes. Yeah.
It's like you're going to a different location or a different place, but it's
Wow.
just one mountain
Right.
that you see all of that, and it's quite amazing. It has an amazing altitude. It's not simple. 5,895, which is a very good altitude gain. You do it in a week.
Wow.
I think you climb it in 5 days. You summit on the 6th and then you come down on the 7th.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a very good mountain. It's a beautiful mountain. The energy of the people, the Africans, is just even if you're tired, even if you're exhausted, just the moment that you're just with them and with their
It just
energy
pushes you to move forward.
and their songs and singing and their
Right.
energy and their encouragement is just
Wow.
amazing. I would encourage, whether you're a climber or not, whether you're a startup or you're experienced, it's just a nice mountain
To go to. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
I'll put it on my bucket
Yes.
list immediately.
Totally.
So, when you're climbing mountains, and I think it comes with every physical challenge that we put ourselves into, right? So, there is a physical strength that is required, and so is a mental and emotional.
Totally. Yeah.
I have watched a lot of TED Talks and videos of other climbers, and some of them have like broken down just narrating how they felt, because the weather is so unpredictable. You are there, you've gone, you've trained, you've done everything right, but the weather is weather. It doesn't work according to us, and it
Exactly.
changes. And I was watching this lady, and she was like, I was stuck there for almost 10 to 12 days, and literally no food to eat, couldn't even go out to poop, to do her daily
Yes.
things that she a normal human being would want to do, every human being would want to do.
Yeah.
So it was so difficult. Now, from your experience, I know physical strength you can train.
Yes.
How do you train yourself mentally and emotionally? And when the challenges are so unpredictable, how do you keep up with that strength, both mental and emotional?
So that's a very good question. Initially, I didn't know how to train mentally. It took me time to learn it, and I'm still learning it. But I would say that within my physical training, I'm already mentally training for it.
Right.
Because within the training program itself, there is a lot of. So within the training program, the trainer makes it very challenging. That the moment that he asks you to do one more burpee or one more squat or one more movement and you're done,
Right.
that's when you really need to get up and do it. So it's the same concept.
Right.
So it all depends on how you train for it within the physical. So it's both. You're not training with the training with both separately.
Yes.
It's combined. And I would say, signing up with a legit company that provides services that you really need is very important.
Right.
The right gear is very important, because you don't want to end up going there and feel like, oh shoot, I have the wrong pair of socks, and it's
Right.
going to ruin your entire expedition.
Absolutely.
So you have to really know what you're getting yourself into. You need to train for it physically and mentally within the same time. And yes, you learn it with time mentally. I wouldn't say it would come to you immediately. It took me some time, and I'm still training for it. So I would say what really works well for me, and what I've been discovering even more lately, is that the tougher I train physically, the more I'm prepared mentally. Yes, that's what I would say. Now, in terms of weather, yes, I went through that once. It was my first time going to Everest Base Camp. And basically, we were supposed to go to a peak called Island Peak. It's around 6,100, I think, meters above sea level. That was my first mountain to go above 6,000. And I really wanted that experience. The moment we got to base camp, I was exhausted. But I wasn't exhausted, not base. It's after base camp, Everest Base Camp, you go to Island Peak Base Camp. And I was exhausted, but I wasn't exhausted physically.
It was more mentally.
It was very mental. And especially that sometimes your surroundings impact how you feel on the mountain, because you're at altitude and things happen. So it's very important that it's not easy. It takes time, still practicing, not to be impacted by your surroundings in terms of people, comments, comparison,
right?
Because it happens sometimes, and also I would say your pace. You have to be very gentle on yourself, because the slower you are, the better. But sometimes, when you feel that you're too slow, you're not moving, but you're still going forward.
Right.
So all these things, they kind of impact you mentally, I would say. Even for you not being able to shower for days. Yeah. Not having accessibility to water to wash up. So you just end up using wipes for days and days and days. So being filthy for too long.
Yeah.
I mean, all these small factors, they kind of have a small impact. I wouldn't say it's huge.
But they still have an impact.
They still have an impact. But the moment you remember why you're there and why you're doing this and how much you want it, khalas.
It goes away.
It all goes away. You would have a breakdown. So when I was heading to Everest Base Camp, I remember I had a breakdown. I just broke down crying.
Wow.
And I had an amazing guide. His name is Tandy. Hi, Tandy. So he said, and he's like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's just, I finally made it. And he's like, "Yes, you're here." And then he's like, "I want to ask you a few questions." I'm like, "Go ahead." And he said, "How many people, is this your first time coming here?" I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Has anyone from your country been here before?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I don't think so."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, you're here."
Yes.
And look where you are and how far you came.
Yeah.
And I remember I was terrified that day, because the next day we were going to summit the peak. And I know that it was quite technical and altitude. So I had all that, that fear in me, because it's my first time going through that experience. And I was at the same time too excited, but I couldn't sleep much because I was still nervous. But I remember waking up and I was waiting for them to call us. But what happened is that we had a snowstorm. And then our guide told us, "Listen, if we wake you up, we're heading up. If we don't wake you up,
that means just stay where you are."
Stay where you are. So I couldn't sleep that night because I was just waiting for them to wake me up. I was already up.
I want to
go. But yeah, they didn't wake us up, and I was just looking at the time, and I kept on giving them more time, and the snow was up to here, and
so it
wouldn't work. So people who did head there a day before, they were able to summit, but the next day it was just.
And then how many days before you could summit? How long were you stuck there for?
I wasn't stuck.
Oh, you weren't stuck?
No, we were able to go down.
To go down.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we went down to a lower area, and then we just took a heli back to.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there's an option of taking a heli down sometimes.
Sometimes. Oops, I need to check that before I plan anything.
I mean, if you're going on a long you're going to go down the same way you came up. Sometimes, especially with Everest Base Camp, yes, it's worth to go back up and down. But if you're going up to a peak or Everest, for example, helicopters are...
Yeah, they're okay. They're comfortable.
Yes.
I absolutely loved it that, you are actually paving the way for so many more younger Omani women or even older women.
I'm not sure if I do.
I mean, I would again go back to my own example that reading about you and knowing that, in 2018 you just thought, and, now, mashallah, you've done so much. So that inspired me, and I'm sure you've done it to so many more women. So great job with that first. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing that. And I absolutely loved that you shared this story, this episode, because it so happens that sometimes we get drawn by what others are saying, and then we lose focus of what we really have to do. So, thank you for highlighting that. And it actually brings me to this question that I really wanted to ask, that what happens is when we have a goal, and that too when it comes to climbing. Now, it is physically exerting.
Yes.
Now, when we are in a competition, now it is a mental competition of me against me, or it could be me against the others, or even this thing, I said I will summit. What if I do not? And then what happens? So sometimes, we have these questions, and it can be physically draining. Now, there's a very thin line where it is your ego playing, or it is your mind playing with you, like, don't do it, giving up. When you have to push yourself, no, mind, shut up. I need to do this.
Yeah.
There's a very thin line between the ego and the mind actually tricking you. Because sometimes your body is khalas, saying like, ma'am, I cannot move forward. You are doing wrong to yourself. But it's the ego who says, no, go push. What are you going to say to people? Like, come on, you just said you're going to summit Kilimanjaro. You trained for like 8 months and, now you don't do it. How do you differentiate, firstly, that line? Like, is it the ego or it is the mind?
Okay.
And how do you make that choice of, staying true to yourself and being honest to your inner voice and listening to it and saying, it's okay, I will come back again. It's no big deal. So how do you differentiate A, and B, how do you actually stay true to your...
I'll be very honest with you. I went through it twice.
Really?
Yes.
So, the same conflict, you mean?
No, I did not summit twice.
Oh, okay.
Because my body failed.
Oh.
So it happened. So I'll just give you a very simple example. Okay, after Kilimanjaro, it was perfect. It was great experience. Summited. Yay! Thank you so much. Next mountain was Everest Base Camp, Island Peak. The weather happened, situation, but I got to Everest Base Camp. That was done. Next, I went to Elbrus in Russia, which was, I would say, intermediate. There was the summit day was a little bit challenging, and yes, there was a point in the going to the summit where I didn't give up, but I remember, I don't know if I want to say this, but let's say that I was at a particular pace and my guide was not very happy with it. So she was saying, I think you should go faster. And I'm like, okay, I'll try. But I just went through my pace because at altitude, it's a little bit difficult to go faster or fast. So I increased my pace, but I realized that it wasn't a physical challenge. It was more of a mental challenge because it was just, the thing about climbing is that the moment you start climbing, you're disconnected from everything. You're just one step after the other, step after the other. And it's just, it's very soothing. It's like, practicing yoga.
Yes.
And you're like...
It's very meditative.
It's very meditative, exactly. At the same time, it's exhausting. At the same time, it's joyful because you can see your surroundings. It's everything.
It's a mix of everything.
It's a mix of everything. But I remember her saying that if you don't go faster, we may have to go back. And I'm like, no matter what happens here today, I will not go back. Because I felt strong. I didn't see that I had any problem. So why would I go back?
Right.
So I just pushed further with my pace, and that was completely fine.
Right.
Now, the mountain after it, then COVID happened. And then the mountain during COVID, I think that was in 2020. No, 2020, I was stuck in Amman. 2021, I went back to Nepal. And I was attempting a peak called La Boucher, also around 6,200. and this is where my example would come to answer your question, is that I got to La Bouche high camp, which is, I think it was 5,600 meters above sea level, and the summit was, I remember that it was not too far from the summit. I think it was around 400, 600 meters. I'm not very sure. I need to check. But it was my last night. And then next morning, I would wake up and go to the summit and come down. That night, I got altitude sickness. I started having a very bad headache. They checked my oxygen level. It was around 40s and 50s, which is very low. So they gave me, I didn't feel like I was going to die. I just felt that, I felt nauseous. I felt a headache. And then when they checked, they're like, okay, this is bad. I'm like, okay, but I don't feel bad. I just feel this. So, but then the moment they gave me oxygen, I felt way better. And then when I woke up next morning, they checked my oxygen level again. It was still low. So my guide was saying, okay, I don't think you should continue to go up because it will be super dangerous. And I'm like, okay. Rule number 1 is, some climbers it depends on your guide. It really depends on your guide. If you have a good guide, you can totally go with this rule. Always follow your guide's instructions. They know better. But if you don't trust your guide, that's a different situation. I had a good guide, and having my oxygen level at that that range was dangerous for me to go up. Right. I came home disappointed because I just wanted to go above 6,000. I've been trying to do it. Something always happens with it. But yeah, it didn't work out. And then when I came home, I was fine. And then I remember one person told me, no, you could have tried to go a little bit further. And I'm like, yeah, I could have, but I can always go back. Yeah. And especially with La Bouche, I mean, it's a peak. It exists. The mountains are always there. I had a good time. I met a lot of people. It was during COVID, so it was a privilege for me to go there. And it was an experience. Definitely.
So you have figured the line, and you do listen to...
Totally. Yeah. And it happened again last January. But this was a little bit tough. Okay. This was really tough because this is a mountain that I really upgraded my training, I would say. It was a training on a different level because it was one of the toughest mountains to climb. It's called Aconcagua. It's in the highest mountain in south of America. It's in Argentina. With an altitude of 7,100. I think, or no, 6,000 and something, less than 700, 7,000, almost 7,000. Anyway, so it was a mountain that I always wanted to do. And I trained really hard for it, super prepared from every aspect, showed up, had the best guide, best gear, best training, you name it. All my savings were gone, FYI. So I don't have any savings left for climbing, yay. But worth it. I got there. I looked at the mountain. I was doing great, but I got a very severe altitude sickness at Camp 1, which is not even a high camp. And this is what was even more upsetting to me. But the thing is, with this mountain, after going back and checking it out, the altitude gain that I had per day was pretty high. So you would gain around 600, 800, 1,000 meters.
Per day?
Not per day, like every 2 days, which is quite a lot.
Okay.
So the altitude gain was quite a lot for Aconcagua, and I think that was one of the main reasons why
For you too.
Yeah. But altitude is altitude. You never know why.
Yeah.
Regardless of you being prepared, it happens. And it happened to me, and I remember that I was at Camp 1 as the second round, and my guide was amazing. He took care of me. And I just looked at him like that, and I'm like, so what's going to happen? Do you have oxygen? It's like, I don't have oxygen, but we have tablets that's going to help you. And I'm like, okay. And then I looked at him like that, and I'm like, okay, so what's the procedure? He's like, we'll speak to the doctor and we'll see how it goes. And then he was super nice. And then he just looked at me. He's like, "You won't die. Don't worry." I'm like,
That's so comforting.
I'm like, I know. It's okay. I don't feel like I'm gonna die. I just feel like I'm gonna die, but I don't feel like I'm gonna die. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just felt really, really, really tired. And then he gave me the tablets, and then he took care of me all night. I had to have the fluids, the soups, the tablets. It's basically those tablets that they give you to get your heart rate up again and get the blood flowing.
Flowing, yes.
Because my oxygen level was very, very low.
Mm.
It worked.
Thank God.
I'm here now. And then I came down to base camp. This is the second biggest base camp after Everest Base Camp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. They have beautiful showers. Amazing. The best base camp that has shower is Aconcagua. Yeah, very nice. But yeah, sometimes you would get some frozen water, so you can't shower early morning. So you have to shower when the sun is out,
right?
Which is noons.
Yes.
So there are timings for it, and a line, very long line. But yeah, it was something that I always wanted to do. It's one of the mountains that they always say it's a 50-50 chance.
Whether you could do it or you don't do it.
And they're different.
And you took your chance.
I took my chance, yes. It's either altitude or weather. So mine was altitude.
Right.
But I had a good time. It was with a very good company, good team, great guide, Nani. Hello, Nani. Amazing. If it wasn't for him, I would not feel safe. Right. He was great. And then from base camp, we took the heli down. And the moment I didn't know how bad I was, like, I went to there's a doctor base in the base camp, so I went to see the doctor, and he's like, "Okay, I think you should really go down." I'm like, "But I came all the way up, and I'm here, and I took the medication now. Can I just continue?" It's like after this particular medication, you can't stay at altitude.
You need to
even stay off altitude for at least 3 months. And I'm like, "But I'm the first Omani to do this." Like, no Omani has done it before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, woman. There is one guy who did it, Sulaiman and Nabi, an amazing Omani climber. He summited Everest this year. Yes, you should have him.
Yes,
and
sure.
So yeah, he did Aconcagua, and he's the only Omani who did it. But that wasn't the target. It was just me wanting to do it.
Yeah.
But I was like, come on.
But if it happened, why not?
Why not? Yeah. But yeah, it was something that I came home with, and initially I wasn't at peace with it when I was there. So I had a couple of weeks left in Argentina, and I'm like, you know what? I won't go home. I'll go to Patagonia. I'm gonna go enjoy myself. So I had a full plan in Patagonia, and it was amazing.
That's great, as long as you enjoyed yourself
and I needed
off the mountain.
And I needed it.
Yes, you needed it.
I needed it after the mountain just to recover and get through what I went through.
Right.
And then when I was home, I was fine.
That's great. I'm sure because you have done quite a few expeditions now.
Correct.
And no experience is the same, right? Every experience is different. And completely. I'm sure you would have so many unique takes from every expedition that you've been to. And even through the training, so it's not just then, but it's before and after as well that teaches you so much. But do you remember, or can you pick that one thing and be like, now that was a turning point of my life, or that just shifted so much?
It was definitely Kilimanjaro.
Yeah,
that was my starting point. Yeah, totally. After climbing that mountain and seeing how I felt about it and what I earned out of it, and I always say this, and it's true, and I've learned it from a different climber, is that the moment you start climbing is the moment you actually sign up and train and then climb. So the climb doesn't happen on the mountain. It happens the moment you sign up for it.
Right.
Train, prep, because the prep is as hard as climbing the mountain. It's not easier. And it needs to be that hard.
Right. Yes, of course. To put you in that mindset.
Yes, I would say Kilimanjaro definitely was my starting point. It changed a lot in me and within. It completely started a new life, a new passion, new friends. It opened up my
new
world.
Opportunities.
Yes, totally. Absolutely. Like, I think that was it. And then from that moment, I just wanted to keep on trying.
To do more
to
and
do
more.
more and more. Yeah, it was definitely my starting point.
So, you even give the credit to the mountains for putting you on a path of soul searching and a path of finding your purpose.
Correct.
Would it be wrong to say that Hunna and Ghudu are a part of your purpose? Are they in line with what you
Totally.
have figured out?
In particular, I would say Hunna.
Hunna, yes.
So Ghudu is something that me and my partner Wissal have started, and it came through Hunna.
Right.
Long story short, but Hunna is basically indeed inspired through my journey, and I didn't know that I would end up doing this ever. So after climbing and traveling for quite some time, COVID happened, and I have a group of friends who have achieved so much. So during COVID, there was a lot of online, meetups and talks and interviews, and I got a lot of that from different people. And I'm like, okay, I have my friends who have also achieved and
so much, yes,
but they're not very much exposed on social media as much as I was during that time.
Right.
And then I'm like, you know what? I have time. I'm stuck at home. And I'm like, why don't I start a platform that speaks of women in sports and adventures in Oman?
Wow. Yeah.
And it was just supposed to be a live interview, as simple as that.
Right.
And I wanted to do it also on my personal account. And then when I saw, and I did that once, and then I saw a lot of response saying, why don't you do this on a different account? I'm like, yeah, it's going to be more focused.
Yes.
So I started a new account. I had a lot of support from my friends.
Amazing.
With the logo from my partner. With
the photo shoot is amazing. I absolutely loved the photo shoot when it came out.
Yes.
Amazing. I mean, it has the culture element and it has the kick-ass element, of women being these badass in a lot of healthy way. I'm not trying to say badass in a negative way, but in such a true spirit, and it's amazing. I absolutely love the photo shoot.
So it was my friend Mina Shaydani who took those photos for me. And we were discussing it for a while. It wasn't even for the project. He's like, Noor, I want to take photos of you with traditional Omani clothes and some hiking gear. I'm like, yeah, we should do that. And then the project idea came. And then I'm like, listen, you want to take this photo shoot for me? He's like, yeah. I'm like, how about we do it for a project? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So I wanted, the whole idea of this photo shoot is to actually show the Omani women.
Right.
If you notice that most of the Omani women are very cultural, yet they're very strong and they're very passionate.
Absolutely.
And they love what they do in different sports. And we just wanted to show those different sports and basically representing them as who they are through this photo shoot. Right.
That's amazing. I absolutely loved it.
Yes.
And because the intention is so beautiful, it actually translates. Yeah. So whenever I see your page, it just gives me such amazing vibes. So great work, because it does give that energy out. So I believe that if your intentions are right,
correct,
it will translate.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that that's your COVID baby. So my podcast, You Are Human, is also a COVID baby. So I started it in 2020 May.
Yes.
And it was a similar thing, when I saw everybody canceling 2020 and, giving up on their dreams. And there was so much negativity, a negative narrative around it.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, there is so much good around me.
Totally.
Why don't I just bring that goodness around and just inspire myself first? So this is like my university. So from every guest, there's so much that I learn. So it's more of a selfish platform for me, because then I get to grow up with me, whoever listens to it. So this is my intention. I was like, this is my university, and I'm so grateful that I wouldn't say so grateful for COVID to happen, because then, it's not the right statement to make. But I think it's always important for us as human beings to take the present or the circumstances and change it to the way we want it. So COVID happened, and this is what I, made out of it, with a lot more other things, or a lot other things that I didn't do. And you came up with Hunna. So I think COVID gave us something great as well.
Totally. I mean, I've been traveling and going around, and it was I didn't realize it until COVID happened. So when COVID happened, I realized that I really had to slow down.
Right.
And slowing down helps you think.
Absolutely.
And thinking is what got me into starting Hunna. And then My partner Wasal got involved, and now we do it together. And then through Hunna and meeting the different athletes and covering their stories, it took us to different places around Amman.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of them was Dhofar. And this is where Ghudu started, because we ended up in Dhofar, and because we loved Dhofar so much, that's where Ghudu started. So like, the thing is that about us is that when the moment we started Hunna, we like and just worked through Hunna and the women and Ghudu. I don't know. People ask me what's next. I'm like, I don't know, because the flow of what's happening is what's going to take me next.
Right.
You know, we're not even we didn't even plan it.
It happened very organically. It just came in.
Yes, I would say yes. And we just work with it. Like, what do we want? What's our vision? What do we want to do? And we just place that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just me and her, and we have our marketing manager, Salim. So it's just the three of us in the team.
Yeah. So I feel like once you start walking on a path, there are so many things that happen like a byproduct.
Correct.
You know, so you don't focus and you're like, oh, how did this happen?
Totally.
So it's just a matter of choosing your path and just walking on it. Correct. And there'll be so many other branches, you know, that open up from it. So
Correct.
yeah, and that's such a great example for it, you know, and you're living it.
Correct.
So you already mentioned that, you know, people have asked you what next, but I want to know, you know, with Hunna, with climbing, I mean, with your last climb was a while back, and then now you've announced it that you don't have any more savings, you know, to go for another climb.
I really want to go.
But is there anything next planned on your agenda? Like, is there something that you're aiming at?
Yeah, there are a couple of mountains that I really, really, really wanted to do. There's one that I want to do this year and one next year, but I'll be very honest, there's a lot happening with Hunna and Ghudu right now. And financially, I'm not ready as well. So it's the timing, I would say.
Right.
Perhaps it may not happen as it should this year and next year, but let's see. You never know.
Yeah.
Regardless, I'm still training.
Yay!
And I'm still training towards it. And I'm still having it in mind. So whatever happens, you never know what happens.
Right. So at least you're prepared for it.
Yes.
So you're preparing yourself.
I'm ready. Yeah. Correct.
Wow, that's amazing. But then other than Hunna, Ghudu, is there anything else also that you are planning?
Mountains.
Yes.
That's it.
That is like your priority.
Yeah, I mean, those are the three things that I live for.
That's amazing. You know, I feel there is a sort of a divine intervention that happened, you know, in the process of us finding our purpose or discovering something. Like, you know, apple must have fallen on so many people's head, but it's only this one person who tried to question that, why did the apple fall on my head, and then discovered the gravitational force. So I feel that was a divine intervention, because you know, you need to have a different mindset to see these things, you know, and that's why I think science is a beautiful language, because that's why they call it discovery. Like, it's not like I have found something, like it was already covered and I've discovered it. So it existed and I have, you know, discovered it. So I think it's beautiful, you know, what scientists do. So I feel like even with your journey, there was a divine intervention to put you, because you said, right, that you were looking for something.
Correct.
You were wanting something. And you didn't know what.
No.
And Kilimanjaro happened. And then through that, since 2018, now you're in 2022. Now you are creating platforms for so many other women, you know, to be known. As you said, like, they were not known because they're not on social media, but you're highlighting their stories. Yes. And now you're giving an opportunity, because I've seen some you know, clips of Ghudu, you know, and I've seen women in abayas and burqas, you know, these bunch of women, Arab women going through, you know, going for hikes and going here, going there in nature. And I think it's just so powerful. That image, it's still live in my head. You know, when I looked at it, I was like, it is so powerful. So I think it was a divine intervention to bring you to this path, because this is your purpose and this is what you have to do.
Correct.
Do you feel that?
Totally.
Yeah.
Goosebumps right now as you speak. But it's true.
Yeah. Because this is exactly what I could, you know, sense from whatever we have spoken and whatever I've read about you and whatever I've seen. I was like, man, you are the chosen one, you know, to felicitate so many great things that are happening, and a lot more that is yet to come. So Noor, as a sign off, is there anything that you would like to say to me and to everybody? No, not to me, I'm just kidding. But yeah, to everybody, if there is a message, of course, that message would even come from me. I mean, I'm sure I'm getting to learn so much already, and that would teach me as well. But is there anything that you would like to say as a sign off to everybody?
This kind of question always gets me stuck.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to corner you.
It comes with me when towards what you just said. I would say that if you're a person who is searching for something, it takes time. So don't get too busy looking for it. Just get busy living different experiences to find out what it is, and it will come to you. And I think what you just said kind of gives that answer. It came to me. Hunna came to me. Ghudu came to me. My partner came to me. The people who are supporting us with everything that we do came to us. It's just about you getting out there and putting yourself out there and experiencing it all. And yeah.
Yes, it is so important to put ourselves out there. I think we are hiding, behind our phone screens and just trying to live other people's lives. And I feel, there's nothing wrong on being on social media, but I feel there's a lot of time and energy that is being wasted, looking like somebody, doing what somebody else is doing. Oh, I want to do that. But I think it's so important to just put yourself out there and just live, as Noor said, let's just live.
God has created every person here on earth, and every person has a purpose. Yeah. Every person, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same, but everybody is meant to do something.
Something.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. So let's just find our little something.
Exactly.
And create a Hunna and Ghudu big things. You never know.
You never know.
Thank you so much for having me. This is absolutely amazing. I enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you,
you've inspired me in so many ways.
I can't even
tell you. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If it has inspired you even slightly, then please like, share, and comment. See you on the next one. Until then, remember, our time is limited. Let's make the most of it. Keep watching You Are Human on YouTube and listen to these amazing conversations on Spotify and other audio platforms.